Hello, and thank you for joining us for Ottawa Business Matters presented by the Ottawa Board of Trade. My name is Sueling Ching, and it is my honor to be the President and CEO of the Ottawa Board of Trade. We are the voice of business in Ottawa and a key economic development stakeholder with a mission to create a thriving business community in the Ottawa region. We're thrilled to be here today during the federal election 2021. Our purpose is to inform our local candidates about the priorities of our business community and to inform our business community about the platforms of our local candidates. I'm pleased to be joined today by a board member of the Ottawa Board of Trade and the CEO and founder of Abacus Data, which is a leading Canadian research firm headquartered right here in Ottawa. Welcome, David.
Great to be here, Sueling. Nice to see you. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you, and so nice to see you. And thank you for working with us on this series where we've had some really great conversations with local candidates.
It has been great, and I'm really looking forward to our conversation with Minister Fortier today.
So am I. So just a bit of an introduction. Elected in 2017, she is the first female member of parliament for Ottawa Vanier. She has always believed that she can best serve her community by getting involved and taking action. Her expertise covers areas of healthcare, education, job creation, and Francophone affairs. She's focused on making life more affordable for Canadians, protecting the environment, and helping businesses prosper. She is a strong advocate for linguistic duality and always searches for the right balance between prosperity and social justice. As a mother of three, a University of Ottawa graduate, community leader, and entrepreneur, she knows that it is important to come together with an ambitious plan to build stronger and better communities while growing the middle class. Please welcome Minister Mona Fortier.
Thank you so much, Sueling, and hi, David. Really happy we can have this conversation together today about our future.
Well, Minister, thank you very much for being here. Great to see you. I want to start with the, big question, which is, what would you say are your top priorities when it comes to the local community, Ottawa, as you seek another term as the MP for Ottawa Vanier?
Well, thank you for that important question. And honestly, the first thing is finishing the fight for COVID. I think that is something we all must work together on, and we have a plan to fight against COVID. And then also for recovery and building back better, I would say the priorities for our region would be early learning and childcare, affordable housing and ending homelessness, a cleaner green future, and especially for Ottawa, green transit, and also continued supports for businesses and workers. That is something that we need to continue. We've been bridging during COVID, and now we really need to make sure that our businesses recover from this and thrive. And last but not least, I do want to say, especially in our region, reconciliation and supports for our urban Indigenous peoples. Well, for urban Indigenous peoples is really important. As you know, in Ottawa, Vanier, there is a large contingent of Inuit community and also a First Nation. So with the partners, making sure we continue the truth and reconciliation.
Thank you, Minister Fortier. As you know, in Ottawa, tourism is an important part of our business community and an economic driver, and it has been one of the hardest hit during these last 18 months. So what is your party's plan for supporting this sector, growing it? It's often considered the front door to every other aspect of economic development as well. And specifically, the sector is looking for some tailored wage support, rent support, and is this something that would be part of the Liberal plan?
Well, that is a very important question. And let me start by saying that the last 18 months since COVID, we have been addressing this question with different supports to help workers and businesses in those very critical sectors that we have in the city, mentioning the tourism, hospitality, and food service sectors. So we have supported the businesses with the highly affected sectors credit availability program, You all know about the Canada Emergency Business Account to provide businesses with up to $60,000 and partially forgivable interest-free loans. The Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy and the rent subsidies were very, very helpful for businesses. And also the implementation of the Regional Relief and Recovery Fund through FedDev that provided assistance to businesses and communities that required additional support to cope and to recover from the pandemic that didn't necessarily have access to the other support programs that I mentioned. And we also introduced just before the election through the Budget 2021, the Canada Recovery Hiring Program. So in the last 18 months, we really provided some supports to bridge to now where we, I believe, are to continue into recovery. And the Liberal government, as we emerge from this pandemic, will continue to support these sectors that have been really hardest hit. We need to invest in homegrown small businesses, keep supporting workers, even create jobs and growth in Ottawa. And we know that the city's recovery has to be everyone's recovery. And, it's not just to support some sectors, it's really to make sure that we help those sectors that were hardest hit. And therefore, a re-elected Liberal government will continue to expand support programs like the Canada Workers Benefit. We also are providing an introduction of a new EI benefit for self-employed Canadians that would provide unemployment assistance comparable to EI and lasting for as much as 26 weeks. That is something that we heard was necessary through our different consultations and how we can provide supports into recovery. And one more thing I'd like to mention, and we launched it, we launched the idea about 2 weeks ago, is to launch a new arts and culture recovery program that will match ticket sales for performing arts, live theaters, and other cultural venues to compensate for reduced capacity. That is something concrete that we heard from especially Ottawa partners that this would be very helpful. So just to give you an idea of how we are focusing on those hard-hit sectors.
Thank you. David, can I turn it over to you?
Yes, you can. Well, it's always nice talking to folks who are currently in government, because you've seen how this last 18 months have gone, and obviously have lots of ideas. I'm curious, Minister Fortier, tourism, hospitality, food service, big part of our economy here in Ottawa. So too is technology and the high-tech sector. I'm really curious to hear, and I know many of our members are curious to hear of what a Liberal government going forward would do to help accelerate growth in that sector. I think there's many who feel that Canada may be falling behind or is at risk of falling behind. And so what can we do, and what will the government do to help both the local tech sector, but also across the country grow and compete globally?
Well, thank you for that question. And first, I do want to say that one concrete approach that we are providing, and I will come to the technology sector, but to fight COVID, we have to make sure that Canadians are vaccinated. That's why we're introducing a mandatory vaccine to all of our public servants in not only the region, but across the country. So that is going to set the example that we not just encourage, we believe mandatory vaccinations are necessary, and that will really help us really fight and win against COVID. Now, for the technology sector, and to help, unleash bold new research and ideas, we need to protect Canada's competitive advantage, and we need to help companies grow and create highly skilled jobs. And a re-elected Liberal government will establish a Canada Advanced Research Projects Agency, we call it the CARPA, as a public-private bridge for research that helps develop and maintain Canadian-led technology and capabilities in high impact areas. And this agency would be established with an initial endowment fund of $2 billion. So that is something concrete. And I also want to mention that other drivers that will help the technology sector is, for example, early learning and childcare. It will make possible many mostly women that had to stay home or have to stay home to take care of their kids, be able to participate in the economic sector. So that is one driver. It's really a transformative economically and socially. And the other driver is housing affordability. I think will also support the growth in our region.
Well, you kind of took the issue right off the next one, because I wanted to talk about housing affordability. You know, I think it's pretty clear to businesses in this community who are trying to recruit into the National Capital Region that, you know, strong business environment and an affordable housing market kind of go hand in hand. What will you and the Liberals do to help improve housing affordability, not just here in the region again, but across the country?
Well, that is so important, David, and something that we've been talking about for quite a while. And we know that every Canadian deserves a safe and affordable place to call home. And recent years, we know there has been a challenging housing market, and high rent prices, have made affordable housing and home ownership feel almost impossible for some Canadians, and particularly young Canadians. So therefore, a re-elected Liberal government will move forward with a 3-part housing plan. A home for everyone will have one part of the program will be unlock home ownership. This will help renters become owners and save for a down payment faster. Will also reduce the monthly costs of mortgages and double the home buyers tax credit to help young Canadians buy their first home sooner. And we believe this plan will save a family buying the first home up to $30,000. So that's number one. Number two, we're going to build more homes. Liberals will build, preserve, or repair 1.4 million homes in 4 years to increase the supply of homes available to Canadians, which will also create jobs and, of course, grow the middle class. And the third part is to protect Canadians' rights. Liberals will create a home buyer's bill of rights to make the process of buying a home fairer, more open, and transparent, and ensure homes are for people and families. Our plan includes criminalizing blind biting, establishing a legal right to a home inspection, and banning new foreign ownerships for the next 2 years. And that is really important what we're bringing forward. And because we're probably going to talk about that too, on the issue of affordable housing, we know that even if more Canadians can afford a down payment, we need a greater supply of affordable homes. And that is something we're really working on in the Ottawa region, making sure that we provide for families, also for those that are most vulnerable, like women and children fleeing violence, persons with disabilities, youth. Those are somewhere we're going to focus on affordable housing. And also, we are proposing to continue a co-developed housing plan for Indigenous people living in Ottawa. That is something that I've had some work already done, but we have a lot of work to do with Indigenous partners. And also for aging parents and grandparents planning their future, or for newcomers who need more space for a growing family. We need to support multi-generational living to encourage, downsizing and aging well at home. So those are some examples in our platform that we're bringing forward for the affordable housing.
Well, thank you so much, Minister, for that. Over to you, Sueling.
Thank you. So, Minister, immigration is going to be critical to Canada's and Ottawa's long-term growth for, diversity in the workforce and also just to attract talent. You've already touched on childcare, on affordability, but we're really calling on a simplification too of the immigration system. So, what are your thoughts on that and what can be done?
Well, I have to tell you, it is an economic driver for us to continue to address labor shortages through immigration. And the Liberal platform has a plan to welcome talented workers to Canada, make it easier for workers to relocate for good jobs. Also, keep experienced workers in the workforce. We want to boost the participation of diverse Canadians into skilled trades, and also need to address specific needs of evolving sectors. We know that there are labor gaps, and we need to make sure that we provide supports and measures for businesses to be able to find these skilled workers for their business. And attracting global talent is really one way to succeed. So the re-elected Liberal government will reform economic immigration programs to expand pathways to permanent residence for temporary foreign workers, and also former international students, which we have a lot in the region, as you know, through the Express Entry Point system. We will also build on the Economic Mobility Pathways pilot and work with employers and communities across the city and across the country to welcome 2,000 skilled refugees to fill labor shortages in in-demand sectors, such as healthcare, as you know already. And another important Liberal commitment will be to establish a trusted employer system to streamline application process for Canadian companies hiring temporary foreign workers to fill, as I said earlier, those labor shortages that cannot be filled by Canadian workers. I could talk about this more and more, but I think it's important to know that we have a strong immigration program that will help us thrive and contribute to the growth of our economy.
Very good. Thank you. Minister, as you know, large urban cities like Ottawa and others across Canada have been hit differently during this pandemic. Often business districts have many SMEs that have relied on them, going to work every day. And in Ottawa in particular, the federal government offices are a big part of that. What are your thoughts on what the urban recovery could look like? What is the government's role, and what do you see the business community's role is in the recovery for a large urban area like Ottawa?
Great question. And it's demonstrated in your question, Sueling, that it's an invitation to work together. So I have to say, the federal government has a role to play, but it's understandable. And it's great to see that we can work together with the business sector, the Ottawa Board of Trade, Invest Ottawa, and Le Regroupement des gens d'affaires, for example, partnering into making sure we do thrive and grow in our community. And I would say that there are three areas, following your question, that I think we can address your question. So first, there's the Canada Recovery Hiring Program, which will help businesses rebound and bring in employees. And we are extending this to March 31st, 2022. Because we need to take the pressure off some of our small businesses that have been really focusing on getting to recovery. Second, I would say supporting the hardest hit sectors, including so many of our artists and performers. And I mentioned it earlier, but I'd like to share it again. That's why we're proposing a new arts and culture recovery program that will, match ticket sales for performing arts, live theaters, other cultural venues. And in our region, like the Tulip Fest, the Blues Fest, the Festival Franco-Ontarien, that will be a huge support for them and allow to attract visitors back to Ottawa. And lastly, making Ottawa more livable for workers will allow businesses to attract top talent from across Canada. I've outlined it through the fact that we want to help young families save to purchase their first home. We have a plan to build, preserve, and repair 1.4 million homes. And I'm really, really confident that as we finish the fight against COVID, our businesses will bounce back and grow. And lastly, it made me think there are other drivers that I should mention that answer to your question, is the fact that we need to continue to support early learning and childcare implementation. I think businesses really want everyone to be able to participate, and therefore this early learning and childcare would be transformative, not just socially, but economically. Also, I think the business sectors can utilize entrepreneurship programs for BIPOC and women-led entrepreneurs and small businesses through, ideas like mentorship, strategic alliances, buy local strategies. And of course, the third one that is a driver is immigration and skilling and reskilling workers.
Very good.
I've got a few rapid fire questions for you. 3 big projects I think that are really important to residents here in Ottawa for the business community. Curious, if a Liberal government returns post-election, will you commit to funding these 3 projects? And I'll just go in order. You can say yes, no, I don't know, wherever you are. Phase 3 of the light rail transit project.
Yes, absolutely. And we're actually moving forward with it.
Excellent. In your own riding, the Byward Market revitalization, can we expect federal support in that project?
Same answer. Yes, absolutely. And we already started rolling out funds and will be working together to fund the next phases.
Wonderful. And then lastly, the Lebreton Flats redevelopment. I know it's an ongoing process, but can we expect to see the federal government supporting, that development?
Yes, absolutely. And it needs to be done in a smart way that builds upon our investments in LRT, the new main library, and supports for affordable housing options for Ottawans. But yes, absolutely, Lebreton Flats redevelopment.
Wonderful. Well, thanks. Thanks, Minister.
Thank you. Yes, thank you so much for your time today. As just a final question, as comment is, what is it about your platform that the business community should think about when they're voting, and how you can work together and support that platform for the business community?
Well, thank you for that very important question. And for the last 18 months, we've been working with the business community, of course, to support and adapt the different measures that we had brought forward. For example, wage subsidy, rent subsidy, the CEBA loans, just to make sure that we address the key challenges businesses had during the pandemic. We have to move forward together again and work together. And I believe that the recovery approach will still need to be looked as a priority, and we'll have to continue to work with small businesses and entrepreneurs to make sure that they are able to contribute to grow the economy, create jobs, and support our different sectors. So I truly believe that we've been working together for the last 18 months, and working together again with all of what we heard in the last year and a half is what we're bringing forward, and we can work together and make sure that we get out of this pandemic, and that we grow our economy, a cleaner, greener future for everyone. And inclusive, I should say. And
inclusive. Thank you for sharing that, Minister. And I think that you're right. There is a lot for the business community to do to drive this recovery, and government's role is to create an environment in which we can do that. So we appreciate the work that you've done in that regard. Thank you for being here with us today. Good luck on the rest of the campaign, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you very much for having me, and hope to see you again post September 20th.
Thank you.
Thanks, Minister.
Well, thanks, David, for that great conversation. And again, appreciate your dedication to the Ottawa business community. And I know that you have a national and international voice, especially during this election. And we've appreciated your insights for sure. I encourage everybody who's listening to continue to follow the Board of Trade, to be involved in the election, stay informed, to take action so that we can work together to build Ottawa's future. Any final comments from you, David?
Well, I'm just going to say, and don't forget to vote. We've got election day coming up. So great to be here. Thanks for organizing this, Sueling, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, we'll see you soon. Thank you.